We have Bina Palekal, who is the chairperson of the National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights. Hello, Bina. Beside Bina, we have Kate McIntosh, who is the executive director of the Promise Institute for Human Rights, Europe. And beside Kate, actually not beside Kate, but on my other side, we have Kun Trayirit Timahi Wong, the Director General of the Department of Rights and Liberties Protection with the Royal Thai Government. Besides, further to my left, we have Paloma Munoz, who is the Human Rights Standards Director at BSR. And last but not least, we have Francis West, who is the Director of Social Sustainability at the company Tetra Pak. So as you can see, we have a good mix, and we are all keen to speak about meaningful actions. So Bina, I'm going to start with you. Can you share how Dalit and Adivasi communities are currently being disproportionately affected by environmental harms caused by businesses? And in your response, can you also reflect on what are the most urgent systemic changes needed to ensure that businesses are held to account and that victims get the remedy that they need and are able to engage in that process? 6 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Seema. As we all know that communities discriminated on work and descent or communities affected by caste-like structures who are Dalits, Haratin, Nosu, Roma, Burakumin, Kilambola. These are the communities who are often invisibilized in supply chains and are involved in the worst forms of labor. They say that all child labor and all bonded labor come from these communities. They're disproportionately affected by business-related environmental harms primarily because their livelihoods are intrinsically linked to natural resources, land, water, forests, which are often targeted for industrial and extraction projects. As you go below the corporate order and go down to the supply chains, everyone from the sanitation workers to lower down the supply chain are from the Dalit or the CDWD communities. There's forced displacement and land alienation. Large-scale projects like dams, mines, and factories frequently lead to forced removal of communities from their ancestral land. This then leads to what is known as climate-induced migration, where they move to urban cities looking for jobs and a livelihood. Exposure to pollution and health risks. These communities often bear the brunt of pollution, such as living near toxic waste sites or having access only to contaminated water resources, leading to severe health issues. Occupational segregation also means they face high exposure to climate risks, such as lethal heat waves due to a higher percentage of outdoor work. There's also a systemic exclusion and lack of representation in these processes and decision-making processes when industries and companies decide to initiate projects or large-scale projects. This marginalization is compounded by a lack of legal literacy and resources to seek redress. Corporate actions lead to deforestation. Almost up to 90% of deforestation is caused by industrial agricultural projects, and this is globally. And contribution to such activities to global warming, carbon footprint by corporates that engage in greenwashing while still going ahead with fossil fuel-based production also need to be called out. Extractive industries have to be restricted to the maximum extent possible. These are the industries where the Dalit and other CDWD communities are severely affected due to the extreme pollution of land and water. What can we do about it? There is a need to have a broader corporate ethical framework in the context of climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. The corporate world has to be taxed and made to pay for a reparative adaptation regime, particularly to ensure that the most vulnerable communities who are disproportionately affected by the impact of climate change are protected and assisted by measures that will help them cope with the adverse impact. They should involve decent and resilient housing. A lot of times when these communities are moved, they move to areas where they have no access to schools, no access to housing, and no access to livelihood. There has to be monetary resources for maintaining a dignified and secure life. There should also be land compensation which will certainly not be sufficient, but there has to be a move towards that. If communities are displaced, they have to be adequated compensation and also rehabilitated in a healthy environment, decent housing, civic services, education, health, and specifically social security. The due diligence process that companies carry out should be ethical and specific impact mostly on the vulnerable communities like Dalits, Adivasis, and within that, sexual minorities, trans communities, women from these communities are further marginalized, especially if they're of old age and also have a disability. The extent of pollution and its impact on health likely to be caused have to be divulged, and mitigative technologies should be transparently deliberated upon. Clear liability for climate damage, robust legal and regulatory framework similar to the CSDD that we see, which is really good and should be implemented to its full effect. Meaningful community engagement with the community, meaningful stakeholder engagement so that they can be taken into consideration while planning, even before they initiate the company. There have to be grievance redressal mechanisms where communities who are affected can come and then place their issues before this community. And of course, finally, effective reparation and inclusive development. I think compensation and rehabilitation must go beyond just economic handouts, but they must focus on restoring traditional livelihoods, ensuring access to natural resources, and funds to be earmarked with transparent accountability mechanisms so these policies can be implemented effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much.